checked. They played at 9 last night.
They did play last night. Okay. I wasn't sure about that. I need to check that out. Here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
You made it to Friday. We made it to Friday. Shannon Salty Sweeney made it to Friday. Jeremy Fouts, the boy wonder, and the nephew of Hall of Fame quarterback Dan Fouts, in my mind, made it to Friday. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney as we sift through all of the results of last night's NBA draft. Spurs fans are freaking out in general over how the Spurs used their number 12 draft pick. I tend to trust the Spurs brain trust after all of these years of doing pretty good. We'll get into that. Shannon was at a major soccer match last night at Q2 Stadium in Austin. And Shannon, I saw on your social media the very evocative and outstanding photo of you lifting your margarita into the sky with Q2 Stadium, the pitch, the fans, the soccer action in the background.
I mean, those margaritas are part of what makes Q2 stand apart from so many others. How many stadiums sell frozen margaritas?
Nice.
Not a lot. So had to indulge in one of those, especially for such a big game. And it was a great time. We won. We're going to the finals, which will be played against Mexico this Sunday in Vegas. Not going to make it to that one, but excited to watch it. And, I had a great time. Soccer ends and ties, that's a thing they do.
Yeah.
I hear you're not a fan.
I'm not a fan of the tie.
That. However, this was win or go home, and we were getting down to the wire. It was still 0-0. And I went to this game because it started at 6:30. That's great timing for me.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of games have been starting at 8:30. I'm like, I just can't do it. So 6:30 start. I'm going to get home on time, and it's getting down to the wire. It's still 0-0. And I'm like, that means they're going to have to play overtime. And then if they don't score in overtime, then we're going to PKs. Like, I could be here another hour and a half. Mm-hmm. Exciting, but no thank you. And then the U.S. put one away in the 87th minute.
My goodness.
And it was great. There was 9 minutes of added time in that second half. The ref was calling everything and nothing all at the same time. Every flop, he called a foul. And every for real foul, he just let it go. Even teams were, the players on the field were upset with him just as much as the fans were towards the end of the game. I don't know who that ref was, but please don't include him in the finals. But an amazing time. U.S. men's national team comes into Q2 Stadium for the first time and gets a win. They'll be back, I believe, next month to play Jamaica for World Cup qualifying. So
my goodness. Stuff. Very good. And hopefully they prevail versus Mexico in Las Vegas on Sunday. And then back against Jamaica at Q2 Stadium. The ladies have played there recently. The U.S. women's team, now the men, and the men are coming back. It's my goodness. It's really establishing itself as a go-to venue for big-time soccer.
And we love to see it. The fans, there was over 20,000 people there last night. So nearly a full packed house for a Thursday night. And it's only going to get hotter. I was sweating my ass off last night.
Yeah, but you had the margarita.
That's true.
Oh, that helps. You can enjoy the margarita. Well, last night, and we got so much to talk about this morning. And by the way, we will do, I believe it's the final day of this contest, week number 4. We were doing it throughout the month of July. So you've still got 12 more shots today, 2 in this show. The Grand in Your Hand cash contest. We'll do it in a little over 5 minutes at 6:20. We'll do it again at 7:20. Lots of people already joining us on the live video feed. Jason Garcia, Ralph Balderas, Wes Perkins, Hector Gomez, Clint Proctor, Robert Almaraz, John Williams. Welcome in, everybody, on the live video feed. You can also jump in on the phone lines. We open up the phone lines for you all morning long at 800-707-9760. Coach A. Paul Alexander will talk all things sports, all things football, including yesterday it was made official by the SEC that Texas and Oklahoma are welcomed into the SEC. A unanimous vote. I'll talk about that with Shannon in a moment, but also 8 o'clock hour this morning, our good friend from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, James Allen. And of course, that Pro Football Hall of Fame game now less than a week away, next Thursday night, Cowboys, Steelers. So Shannon, this is our final weekend without football. So all we have to do is survive one more weekend and the holy sacrament of football. And I don't mean what you saw yesterday, football. No, football, American football shall return in 6 days. Very, very nice.
I'm so excited. This is the moment. I mean, my year starts when football starts.
Yes.
The whole New Year thing, no thanks. Year starts with the beginning of football season, and it is truly upon us. And, for as dry as the time in between the Super Bowl and the start of the preseason seems to be, the storylines we had in the NFL this offseason, I mean, thank you guys.
My goodness.
I mean, I know football is all year long, but oh my goodness, just thank you guys. It really helped the time pass. Man,
Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Richard Sherman, the movement of J.J. Watt to
Dak's
Arizona.
Contract?
Dak's contract. Yeah, just story. I mean. And
anytime there was a lull, Cole Beasley was there to tweet something for us.
Somebody tweeted at you and me.
I saw it.
We went after Cole Beasley yesterday, and rightfully so. I'm just saying. Somebody tweeted. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, if you want to tune in for know-it-alls, tune in for Shannon and Chris. Wait, we're not. We never said we were know-it-alls. We're just a little passionate about science and medicine and saving lives. Call us crazy, but there's that. Okay, so yesterday, Shannon, the SEC votes, and this shocked me unanimously to bring the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners in. Because Texas A&M was so vociferous early in this, procedure, that saying, nope, we don't want it. But no, this is wrong. Come on, you left us out of the conference. And for them to, you gotta like the SEC power structure to kind of, it's almost like the Senate or the Congress when you got to whip some votes in line. Yeah. Somebody whipped A&M's vote in line in the SEC.
You're like, listen, it's gonna pass no matter which way you vote. Don't be that guy.
No,
don't be that one that votes no, and then because that's gonna live on you forever. And every time Texas and A&M play, that will be a contingent point, no matter which way the game goes. And so don't be that guy. So good for them. And now the battle seems to be between Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby and ESPN.
Yeah.
Saying that they basically contributed to the move and had talks behind the scenes with Texas to have them move and leave the Big 12. And ESPN is like, there's no merit here in any of this. And, from that vote yesterday, the vote, at least via the tweet, says, they welcome Texas and Oklahoma in 2025. I think Bob Bowlesby is going to do everything he can in his power to keep them in the Big 12 through the end of the contract ending in 2025. Like you say, there's some back arm twisting that can go on here.
Yes.
So I think time is still up in the air at this point. It may be happening closer to 2025, but I can't imagine it taking that long, especially with how heated Mr. Bowlesby seems to be.
It feels to me like a marriage or a relationship that it's over. She is already seeing other people. Those other people are already posting on social media photos of them together.
Didn't take tell me you're in denial without telling me you're in denial, and you just see Bob Bowlesby in his face. I mean, the Big 12 is it could be so graceful, right?
Yes.
Just let the rest of them find their way. Just say, we will enjoy the next couple years we have. Like, dude, you're out of a job.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry.
And it reflects on you, Bob Bowlesby. If the Big 12 would have been all that over all these years, maybe.
Yeah. Why didn't you work harder to bring somebody else in?
Maybe they wouldn't be taking the leap that they're taking, Texas and OU. It is 6:20, final day. We're going to do this, and somebody wins the money. When we do this, $1,000 goes to somebody. It may as well be you. It is the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. We'll do it now, and we'll do it at 7:20. We do it 12 times throughout the day on the 20s. You're going to get a keyword. We'll tell you where to text it. You do that, your name's in the hat for $1,000. Here it comes.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword GRAND to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's GRAND to 200-200.
GRAND to 200-200. Shannon, on our live video feed, Jason Garcia is telling us that Mike Taylor, the mayor of sports, the great Mike Taylor, is watching us right now on Facebook Live. If that is true, welcome in Mayor of Sports, Mike Taylor. Now, I got a question. He was always the mayor of sports in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Now that he's on in San Antonio and Austin, is he the mayor of sports in San Antonio and Austin, or does he become the governor of sports? And if he becomes the governor in Texas, is he going to tell everybody not to wear a mask? Those are the questions I have.
Well, I don't know if anyone else is claiming that title in Austin, the mayor of sports, so I'm happy to allow him to do so. And whether or not he needs like a greater name as far as title is concerned, because now he obviously covers all of Central Texas.
Yes.
And more with the iHeartRadio app.
I think he needs to go for the governor of sports.
Yeah, you could. I think so. But I was listening to him the other day, and he kind of told the backstory of how he became the mayor of sports. I guess he had beef with a guy in Houston, and I never
heard that backstory.
Like, oh, it's the mayor of sports. And
okay.
So that I'd never heard that. I thought that was really interesting. I mean, Mike Taylor is an awesome dude. I used to work next to him when he was here in Austin and didn't really get to know him. And then when he last came up to Austin, when they announced him being on the airwaves of 1300, I got to hang out with him a bit. And he's a great human and obviously amazing at what he does on our airwaves here from 4 to 7 each day. Absolutely.
So we welcome the mayor, Mike Taylor, and we welcome the boy wonder, Jeremy Fouts. Jeremy, a full week with Shannon and with me. How traumatized are you? Will you be in therapy?
#blessed.
Yes.
#blessed.
I am #blessed. It is my pleasure and my privilege to be here with you all this week long. And thank you for putting up with me and my crazy holidays. For example, today is National Get Gnarly Day.
Get Gnarly Day.
Oh, that sounds like Chris's skateboarding friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're totally stoked. They're gnarly and totally stoked, winning gold in Tokyo.
Yes.
You read that statement I wrote for you very well, Jeremy.
Yeah.
You were even more convincing than
very good.
Statement.
Yeah, you read better than Cole Beasley.
That's not saying
and you may know how to wear a mask. I've seen you wear a mask. You do know how to wear a mask, unlike Cole Beasley. So, all right. It is also, Jeremy, you probably already know this, but I saw this down the hall earlier this morning. I did the first hour of the morning news on 1200 WOAI in San Antonio. Today is also National Cheesecake Day.
Oh, my gosh.
Cheesecake, everybody.
I thought that was July 7th that I missed it, but it's today?
According to
my
research,
Cheesecake Factory, what are they doing for me today?
They should do something. They should deliver
right now.
They should deliver. Now, all right, Shannon, are you a plain cheesecake person, or do you like strawberries on top? Do you like some chocolate swirl in your cheesecake? How do you like your cheesecake?
I like any cheesecake as long as it doesn't contain fruit. I don't want fruity cheesecake. But Cheesecake Factory is pretty bomb, but Cover 3 and Cover 2.
Really?
That's where I'm there pretty much every Sunday and then a couple times kind of throughout the week. And they have an amazing pastry chef, makes amazing cheesecake. I had turtle cheesecake. I think it was Tuesday night. Oh, Chris. Had the caramel sauce.
Sweet.
Had the chocolate sauce. Had like a little, it had the graham cracker crust and then like a chocolate crust layer.
Yeah.
I just got a sweet tooth, so don't be putting fruit in my dessert. That's all.
And that's the little bonus about cheesecake, that graham cracker crust. I mean, because you
break it.
Yeah, you dig into the cheesecake with your fork, and the cheesecake itself is heavenly. But then you hit that crust, and it's like, oh my God, this totally tops it off. Yes.
Wow. Now I need to make plans for
cheesecake. And I do like, and kudos to HEB. You've probably seen these. HEB will sell a cheesecake where you get the whole round cheesecake, but each slice is a different variety of cheesecake. So you could buy just one cheesecake at HEB and you get like, God knows, 6 different varieties in your cheesecake.
And HEB makes a good cheesecake too.
Woo, I can polish that off in a day, an afternoon. It's not pretty.
There's no calories in them.
Is that right? Yeah. As far as working, yeah. What happens with cheesecake stays with cheesecake, or something like that. I don't know. We will, Shannon, dive into the draft. I see David Valles on our live feed saying, let's talk about the players the Spurs passed on last night. Of course, Spurs Twitter is flipping out over Josh Primo, the youngest player in the draft. He's 18 out of Alabama. He won't be 19 until late December.
As if the Spurs weren't young enough already.
Well, and it shows you how stupid I am. And I've been a Spurs fan since they came to town in 1973. I've been working Spurs radio since I think 2012. And it's like, oh, yeah, Spurs will probably go for, like a 21-year-old. They want this guy's a likely choice because of his experience. That sounds very Spur-like to me. Not even close. Youngest dude in the – I read this as well, Shannon. Most of the one-and-dones for next year in college projected to be NBA lottery picks, the one-and-dones, and they already know who they are. They are already older than Josh Primo. There's dudes going into college that are going to be in next year's draft lottery that haven't even played college basketball yet. They are older than the dude the Spurs drafted with number 12 last night.
He must have skipped a grade.
I don't know. But again, I Spurs fans, they don't know what they're doing. 2 names for you, R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich. Remember Manu, remember Tony, and even though it didn't work out well in the end, but we got a title. Remember that Kawhi dude, little draft night trade? You trading George Hill? You trading George Hill to the Pacers? What? I think they know what they're doing. Josh Primo. All right, we'll talk NBA draft and more. Russell Westbrook headed to the Lakers. How do you like that one as well? We'll get into all things NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, college sports, SEC, the high five play of the day. Oh, and my goodness, this high five play of the day is special. I did not see this coming last night in the NBA draft. If you don't know what we're talking about, you need to know what we're talking about. It's big. It's very cool. High five play of the day is next. Shannon's Salty Shakedown, along with Coach A. Paul Alexander in the 7 o'clock hour. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the 8 o'clock hour. Jeremy Fouts is your soundscape stylist. She's Shannon. I'm Chris. It's the Chris Duel Show. Steve Duraco, the original Rock, who 1 week from last night, Steve Duraco is joining me and James Allen in Canton, Ohio for the Cowboys and the Steelers and all the enshrinements, including Drew Pearson, Jimmy Johnson, and Cliff Harris. All right. I need, just check my tweets here. I need coffee badly. So I'm going to go do that. Be right back. About 90 seconds. That's all. I will start guzzling caffeine. Fonzie J. Rodriguez, welcome in. Yeah, Dodgers make an acquisition at pitcher.
Hey, Chris. Jason Garcia called to tell you that he was talking about that cardboard cutout behind you.
Yeah, I saw that he wrote. I saw him subsequently write that online. By that time, we'd spent so much time on it, I wasn't going to correct that on the air. Yeah. right. Woo! Yeah, Jason Garcia, if you're in here, I did see that. I was in the middle of the segment, though, so I read it, but didn't get a chance to respond to it. All right, let me see here. I'm still editing, aren't I? Yeah, okay. Ooh, and this is going to be a little bit of a task. I love it when this computer just screws up what I'm doing. The minute you walk into time. All right. There's some upbeat celebratory music as we celebrate the end of the dark ages in sports, the return of the light as footballs shall fly through the air. We are about to embark upon our final weekend without football as we are 6 nights away from Cowboys Steelers in the Hall of Fame game. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Mr. Jeremy Fouts is your soundscape stylist. We are with you until 9 o'clock this morning. We'll talk NBA draft. We'll tell you our poll question, which has to do with the NBA. A little bit later, Shannon Salty Shakedown. Top of the hour, Coach A, Paul Alexander, always insightful, always thought-provoking, always entertaining. We shall talk football. We shall talk Olympics. We'll talk Texas and OU headed to the SEC with Paul Alexander. 8 o'clock hour, James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But it is time, and I like this one a lot. It is time to give somebody a high five. It's something we like to call our high five play of the day, sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. All kinds of great fun you can have at High Five, whether it's the laser tag, the axe throwing, all kinds of games and activities. Big screen TVs everywhere to watch sports, great drinks, great food, drink specials, food specials. High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. And Shannon Salty Sweeney, it was a big night for a lot of young men in the draft, in the NBA draft last night, and a big night for their families as well, and a big night for a family that you might not have expected to be celebrating a big night in the way it was celebrated last night.
Yeah, a huge night, dreams coming true, lives changed forever. Unfortunately, earlier this year, one family's life was changed forever when their draft hopeful son, Terrence Clark, was killed in a car accident. Earlier this year, he was 19 years old. So the NBA did the stand-up thing. They had his family in attendance, and the NBA drafted Mr. Terrence Clark. Here's what that sounded like.
Before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to recognize Terrence Clark. Terrence was an All-American high school basketball star in the Boston area. He attended the University of Kentucky, and following his freshman year, he declared for the draft to pursue his lifelong dream of playing in the NBA. Terrence was expected to be drafted tonight, but he tragically passed away in April following a car crash. He was 19. His extraordinary talent, commitment, and dedication to the game deserve to be recognized on this stage. With us this evening is Terrence's mom, Asmin, his brother Gavin, his sister Tatiana. To the 3 of you, and to all of those who knew and admired Terrence, please know that he will forever be part of the NBA family. It is my honor to now announce that with the next pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the NBA selects Terrence Clark from the University of Kentucky.
Just a stand-up move by the NBA to draft Terrence Clark and recognize him and his talents in his family and give them that moment that they've been looking forward to since they realized how talented of a kid they had. So the ultimate high five to the NBA and Adam Silver for that recognition last night.
Shannon, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen the NBA do or any sports league. If you get a chance to go look at the video, and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, on social media, all over the place this morning, just seeing his mom, you know, the emotion on the face, the tears in the eyes of his mom, as the commissioner Adam Silver mentioned, his mom, his brother, his sister were there to represent Terrence Clark. And, you know, we talk about this a lot, Shannon, using what you've got, using your platform, whatever it is, for good. And you'll never be able to bring Terrence Clark back, but you can honor him and therefore honor his family by doing what the NBA did last night, drafting him, recognizing him at the place, at the moment, at the goal that was the goal of Terrence Clark's life. It was just such a classy move. It was so kind to that family, and I love it. That was my favorite part easily of the draft last night. And Shannon, as I mentioned, I think of things that sports leagues have done over the years. And a lot of them have done wonderful things and philanthropic things and helped people and helped kids. But this was just one of the best moves I've seen. Kudos and big high five to the NBA for doing that last night.
Yeah, credit to you for finding that story and bringing it to light for us today. You sent that to me. I saw it this morning, and I was like, yeah, no brainer.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. Probably the easiest decision ever to give the high five to the NBA for that move last night.
Very, very cool. And, another interesting sidelight last night in the NBA. What was the name? And he didn't go in the draft. The kid out of Texas Tech, Matt McClung. I mean, we heard he was like a headache for the Longhorns and other teams that played Texas Tech last year. Obviously played under Chris Beard. I assumed when he plays at such a high level, I thought, all right, this guy's going to go in the first or the second round of the NBA draft. He did not. All night long. Max McClung, if he was waiting for a phone call from the NBA, he did not get it last night. However, when he wasn't drafted, he did get a call from the Los Angeles Lakers. So he's going to get it. That's kind of a loaded team he's going to be trying out for, but there he goes.
It was interesting because when he announced that he was going to, attempt to go into the draft, he maintained his eligibility. And then later on, he announced that he wasn't going to come back, that he was going to pursue the NBA draft. So at that point, I think when you see that happen, when they make that announcement that they are going to keep their eligibility, and then they flip that and they say, all right, I'm going for it, that they would have gotten a grade or heard that, you're going to go here, you're almost a guarantee. So it was surprising to see him not get drafted last night. And you're right, he gets the call from the Lakers, and they just traded a handful of guys to get Russell Westbrook, but Matt McClung would basically be his backup, which is fine. That's okay.
Oh, man, if he can make the roster, get your foot in the door if you can make that team. Absolutely.
But you're right. With the addition of Russell Westbrook, he certainly isn't going to be the name that he was when he was on that Tech roster.
And you know what? I mean, so many of us thought Mac McClung would be a draftee. I wonder if he's making the right choice here. I mean, hopefully it works out for him. I want to see him do well, but I just wonder if he could use, some guys can use another year in college to develop their skills and, be better prepared next time in the NBA draft. And I think to kind of get the gauge that the NBA did not see him as a first or second round draft pick might have been a little indicator to Mac McClung that, maybe it does make more sense for you to go back to work.
Right. And so often we see guys deciding to forego that last season in college because they want to go get a paycheck, right? They feel like they can do better by their family and by themselves by just going ahead and starting off and getting that paycheck. I mean, that was when the G League decided that they would allow kids come in straight from high school, right? And you could get that paycheck immediately. Now with the NIL, you wonder if maybe guys reconsider just staying because they may already be making bank, right?
Yeah.
And I think that would have been the move for him. That's what I would have chose, but I don't know his full story. I don't know. I don't know what he was told during the workout process. But hoping he does make that roster, and he's a great 3-point shooter. I mean, that is what A, the Lakers need, and B, what set him apart when he did devour teams during his time with Tech. So he's a good fit. He's a good fit for that team if he makes it.
And hopefully that works out for him. And he is 21 years old. He turned 21. I pulled up his Wikipedia. He turned 21 on January 6th. So, you could make the argument, does he stay another year and come out at age 22? But you just made a great point that the Lakers, and it's something we need to talk about this morning, they make this trade for Russell Westbrook. Since we did yesterday's show, this happened yesterday and last night, Russell Westbrook is now a Los Angeles Laker. So, yeah, maybe the Lakers do have some needs, and, every team does need to develop new talent. And if he can stick, my God, if you are Mac McClung and you found your way onto that Lakers roster and you learned under LeBron James and now Russell Westbrook, and you go to a storied franchise like the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, even though he didn't get drafted last night, if he makes that Lakers team, it could all work out for him.
Yeah, and he'll most likely get some playoff experience. We are asking today via our poll question, with the addition of Russell Westbrook, how will the Lakers era play out? One or more championships. People are voting 31% so far today.
Wow.
Close but no cigar, 37.5%. And 31% saying a disaster, which I can kind of understand because Russell Westbrook can be a bit of a ball hog, and that plus LeBron doesn't equal great locker room vibe to me. But I don't know. I like Russell. I feel like gave KD a really hard time when he went to Golden State, right? Ring chaser, all that stuff. And I think Russell, towards the back end of his career, he wants a ring. And that's a great place to go and try and get one, right? I think given the craziness of this year, forgetting all of that, next year, I think we will be more close to what we thought we were going to get this year, which would be Lakers v. Brooklyn in the finals. I see them potentially winning a championship here. I'm kind of indifferent on whether or not they'll get it done because they are going to have to face what Brooklyn hopes to be all three guys at once.
Well, and think about it. You just mentioned this year it was expected to be Brooklyn versus the Lakers. You had starting this year, this past NBA season, you had James Harden and Russell Westbrook on the Rockets roster. Harden goes to Brooklyn. Westbrook takes a stop in Washington with the Wizards, but is now a Laker. If those two teams meet next year, imagine that. And I hope that Russell Westbrook pays attention to what James Harden did in Brooklyn because he changed his game. A lot of people ever since last night are saying it's not going to work in LA. Russell Westbrook is a ball hog. There's not enough balls to go around in LA between LeBron James and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
If it's gonna work, you see a possible championship for the Lakers. If it's gonna work, Russell Westbrook needs to coexist and cooperate with LeBron James and the rest of the Lakers.
I think that effort and intensity that he brings night in and night out on both ends of the floor is going to be a huge asset for the Lakers that they don't necessarily have with LeBron. I mean, LeBron kind of notorious for not really playing defense these days, but you were totally right in that Russell has always been the last shot guy. And that doesn't mean he can't be that. He's just now an option and he's not the guy when you have an AD and a LeBron also on that roster. Now, for you, I pose this question because where we stand, we're saying Lakers Nets to be the favorites to win the finals. Who do you want to see get a ring first, Harden or Westbrook?
Oh man,
just as is, as the person. Forget the rest of the team.
If you put it that way, I lean Harden. But if I look at both teams, and you know me, I don't hate LeBron James like a lot of people. I kind of like the Lakers more than I like. You add Kyrie, and jury's still out on me for Kevin Durant. I'm learning I like him a little more because he's playing for Team USA. But it's going to be fascinating, no matter what. We'll talk more NBA coming up. In fact, Russell Westbrook grew up in the LA area, went to UCLA. It's kind of a homecoming for Russell Westbrook. And what if DeMar DeRozan still signs with the Lakers? That could be a little mini super team there. Yeah, and there's word that DeMar DeRozan's willing to take a pay cut. We will see. We'll talk about all this. Coach A, Paul Alexander, always fascinating and entertaining. He joins us next. Don't go anywhere. She's Shannon. I'm Chris. Till 9, it's the Chris Duel Show. All right. I need to check this.
The minute you walk into Diamonds Direct, you know this is different. It's spacious, bright, clean, so inviting. Guys who hate jewelry stores love this place because there's no stress, no feeling of intimidation. You're greeted with a drink. You can browse at your leisure, ask help whenever you want, and you get a master's level education when it comes to diamonds. You can
can see as many diamonds in your price range as you want. Nobody's selling you at Diamonds Direct. They're empowering you to buy on your terms with total transparency. No games, no sales, no tactics. Plus, Diamonds Direct has enough diamonds in stock to supply up to 30 ordinary jewelry stores. They have all the top designers in bridal and fashion. They've got lines other stores are not even allowed to carry, and they back up everything with a nationwide price protection guarantee and a free lifetime warranty. No charge ever for routine maintenance like cleaning and sizing. This is the company that revolutionized an entire industry with more choices, better value, over-the-top service, and ironclad customer protection. Check them out. Diamonds Direct at the Domain. Okay, this is week of. All right. Woo! Let's see. Robert, Jorge, Randall, Jesse. Welcome in. Neil Cole, Bonzi, Anthony, David, The Rock, Louisa, Clint Proctor, Hector Gomez, Here we go.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. To the other side, break on through to the other.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is Friday. It is the final Friday in the month of July. July comes to an end this weekend as Sunday will bring us August 1st and the month that God created for football to kick off. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Fouts is your soundscape stylist, and nobody better to talk to as we embark upon the final weekend without football, this vast desert, this vast wasteland that we have endured since last February. It is almost over. Our long national nightmare, as Gerald Ford would say, is almost over. Here to guide us as a Sherpa, guiding us to the summit of football bliss and glory, Coach A, Paul Alexander of RadicallyRational.com. Coach A, how are you on this Friday, July 30th?
I'm okay, but man, that was kind of intimidated me a little bit. I'll just remind you, there are a lot of dead bodies on Everest.
That is true, and hopefully we all live until football season begins on Thursday night of next week. Cowboys Steelers in the Hall of Fame game. Paul, so much to talk about, and before we get to football, it's the end. The week is wrapping up here on a Friday. I know I've seen you posting about this on your amazing website where there's not only blogs, but great video from you as well, RadicallyRational.com. I highly, highly recommend it. But I think the sports story of the week, and it may wind up being the story of the Olympics, of course, Simone Biles, the gymnast, arguably perhaps the face of the American Olympic team, choosing not to compete in an all-around team competition, in individual competitions as well, because, she said she wasn't right. She was feeling a little bit off mentally, and she knew that would affect her physically. So she withdrew. And of course, as you can imagine, in this era we live in. Lots of blowback on Twitter and on social media. Your take on the odyssey of Simone Biles this week at the Olympics?
Chris, I just don't get it. I mean, athletes get injuries that sometimes prevent them from competing or make it very inadvisable that they compete, you know? And if this were a severed ACL, thank God it's not, but you know, people would understand that. But somehow we stigmatize and just completely trivialize the idea that you've got to be mentally and emotionally right to do that. And let me just say this. Part of this is unique to the sport because that is a sport where if you are not mentally right, you are literally risking catastrophic injury and perhaps death, and that's not hyperbole. Okay, you look at Simone Biles, clearly the greatest woman gymnast ever. You could have made a case, maybe still could make a case, that she's still the best athlete on earth right now. But one thing that strikes me, she's 24 years old in a sport in which people generally don't compete after they're 18 or so. And when you think of the commitment that has required, and I'm guessing that she's been up at 4 a.m. every morning since she was 6 years old, there is going to come a time when a human being's mind and emotions are going to change. And if she felt, and she clearly did, that was dangerous for her and ultimately not good for the team, I just don't know why anybody would be highly critical of that. And I'm going to say it, most of the criticism that I'm hearing is coming, I'm going to say it, from older white males who couldn't touch their toes without tearing their aorta. Fourth, and would place fourth in a three-man cornhole competition. I just don't think that's fair at all.
I think that's beautiful, Paul, what you just said. Now, Coach A, along with that story, there's been so many other stories coming out of the Olympics. What's been your favorite so far?
The Sunny Lee thing, for sure. I mean, here's the thing. When you look at what she's been through, I mean, to me, the whole beauty of athletics is people overcoming adversity and coming through obstacles. And by the way, I'm not saying in any way that Simone Biles has not done that. Okay, this is not questioning her commitment at all. But for Sunny Lee to step in and do what she did, I think that's very inspiring. I think that's absolutely great. The whole Olympic thing is kind of creeping me out a little bit when you look at the COVID numbers in Tokyo and you look at what's going to be baked into this equation. There's no speculation at all. You just run the computer model and we might as well just spread COVID all over the globe, all over again. So it's been kind of a bittersweet thing for me. Watching Katie Ledecky, I guess, come back from a couple of defeats, but then come back to post a couple of big wins. That's a big deal as well. More than anything else, I'm just hoping that folks can remain as safe as possible and that this does not become the catastrophic super spreader that if you look at the data, may very well be the case.
Let us hope not. He is Coach A, Paul Alexander from radicallyrational.com. Paul, you are a huge Texas Longhorn analyst. You've covered them for so many years in Austin as the host of the Coaches Show, in San Antonio as the creator of the original Longhorn Pipeline radio show, and elsewhere. The big story yesterday, the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, votes unanimously, which kind of surprised me given A&M's rhetoric a few days prior to this, but they vote unanimously to bring the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners into the SEC. Of course, the contract currently runs until 2025, but I loved how you put it a week ago, Paul, that any penalties that would have to be paid for an early exit. You told us that Texas and Oklahoma could probably find some loose change under the sofa cushions. Both of those programs have so much money. What is your expectation now, Paul? I know, the year 2025 is being put out there as, this contract for the Big 12 still goes until that year for Texas and OU. But how soon do you think Texas and OU will be playing football in the SEC?
I would say maybe as early as 2023 for a variety of reasons, because there's going to be a lot of pressure coming from a lot of different directions to get that done now. But this has just been such an interesting melodrama. I mean, the storyline here has been amazing. First of all, you talk about politics making strange bedfellows. Well, how about college sports? So you got Texas partnered up with OU, and there had to be so much behind the scenes moving here that they did manage to keep pretty quiet for quite a long time. Now my question becomes, Texas and OU have been partners kind of up to this point, but as always, it's now going to be every man for himself, and I'm just wondering if there's going to be a more attractive offer, like perhaps from the Big Ten, et cetera. So I don't think this domino game is over at all. We clearly are heading for the era, as a lot of people have predicted, of 16-team super conferences, and this would be the first one. And that gulf between the haves and the have-nots in college football in particular is just going to get wider and deeper. Certainly, I understand why Texas did what Texas did, and the same thing goes for OU. But now you wonder what's going to become of the other Division I schools, particularly in Texas. I mean, what's going to happen now with Texas Tech? What's going to happen with Baylor? What's going to happen with TCU? and the folks at Oklahoma State, their university president, was saying, "Well, I just can't believe that another Oklahoma school would betray this state to cozy up to Texas." Well, believe it, Pally, it's all about the big bucks.
Coach, one of the more fascinating storylines from this move has been A&M and them first being left out of the conversation entirely, then considering going after the SEC to see if they were in any violation to exclude them from those talks. It was reported that they would be the one vote that would go against allowing Texas and Oklahoma to join the SEC, but the vote ended up being unanimous yesterday, A&M flipping and giving a yes vote. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it was just seeing the inevitable and just realizing that there wasn't anything they could do to stop it. That they'd gotten on the record expressing their objections and why. And let me say this, I get it. I mean, if I were the Aggies, if I were the Aggie president, if I were the Aggie AD, I'd be upset too. I understand this. I mean, the Aggies were the ones that had the foresight to make the move to the SEC, and they have reaped the benefits, and they reaped the recruiting benefits, and they've been the only Texas SEC school, and they took the risk, and they took the plunge, and they were kind of the pioneers here, and now other people are jumping into the wagon. And I can understand why they'd be upset about that. But I also think that they realized that there was nothing they could do, that this was completely inevitable, and not making this a unanimous vote probably was not good for the conference. So I don't think they're any less upset. I think they made their case. I think they kind of made their point. It's really easy to understand what they're upset about, but I also think that they displayed some composure yesterday in that it was completely pointless to vote against that.
He's Coach A, Paul Alexander from RadicallyRational.com. Paul, the landscape of college sports changing so dramatically, so many developments over just the past couple of weeks. Not only, we talk about the SEC and Texas and OU, but the whole issue involving name, image, and likeness, and not just the college sports landscape, the high school sports landscape. We find out this week, Paul, and I'm sure you're aware of it, quarterback Quinn Ewers, who was going to go to Texas, took a second look back when Tom Herman was in charge and said, I think I'll go to Ohio State. He's 18 years old. He's got his senior season apparently ahead of him at South Lake Carroll High School. But there are people telling him you could make about $1 million off your name, image, and likeness if you forego your senior year in high school at South Lake Carroll and just enroll early at Ohio State. Get used to the campus, meet new girls, meet your teammates, and rake in $1 million. If you were advising Quinn Ewers and his parents on what to do, what would you advise them? And B, how do you feel about high school football now being involved like this with name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, I guess we could have seen this coming. I've got some obviously big misgivings about all this, particularly as it pertains to football, because football is a different sport. We've always talked about the 3-year rule of people going into the NFL. Why can't people come straight out of high school and play in there? Well, the answer is because you're going to die. Okay. Not physically mature enough to do. I can only think of a couple of players come to mind that I really think possibly could have gone from high school to the NFL. Earl Campbell maybe being one of them. Bo Jackson maybe being one of them. Herschel Walker maybe being one of them. But anybody else is really risking severe physical and mental and emotional damage there. So I'm more concerned about that than anything else. And Chris, I can't remember the name of the kid, but there's a high school basketball player who's a junior who is in a position to rake in 7 figures. Right?
Yeah.
Can't ultimately see that being a good thing societally,
Coach, we're going to pause real quick here because we want to give away $1,000. All you got to do is listen to the keyword and then text it. Here we go.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword FUN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's FUN to 200-200.
Coach A, from a guy who has the potential to start his college career early and make 7 figures to a guy who got a little bit more than 7 figures or he's got quite a lot of money already. But Mr. Dak Prescott, he's at training camp. Things seem to be going well. And then we hear he's got some fatigue. He's got a little bit of a shoulder injury and won't be throwing for a couple of days. Is there any ounce of worry in your body from hearing that, or is this just a procedure and the fact that he just wasn't throwing as much as he used to because of that foot injury and he just needs a little bit of time to get back into the swing of things?
Ask a question first. Is there such a thing as insider trading, and can I go to jail for it? I think I've got a stock tip for you.
Ooh.
This morning is I am going to buy up as much cortisone stock as I possibly can, because there's a big back order coming out of Oxnard, California. And yes, I am concerned. It's not freak out time, but that particular injury tends to become chronic. I keep a real close eye on that. And I have nothing to back. This is total speculation. But, you have to think that because of the ankle injury that he's had and he's had to recover from, there has to be some kind of physical compensation there in terms of your body mechanics. Whether or not that played a role in this, I don't know. I just hope that he gets well. I'm really, really bullish on the Cowboys season coming up this year, and that's something that could obviously cause the train to leave the track. But I keep a real close eye on that. And you got a little bit of a dilemma here, because he has to play some in the preseason. Coming off what he went through last year, I mean, it's imperative. He has to play a little bit. But how much he plays and when he plays is really going to become a critical question. And I think it's going to be something that's a little tough to manage.
Paul, you bring up a great point that I don't think a lot of people would make the connection. But given your years of experience in football and athletics, you do get it. That the ankle injury that Dak Prescott had, you think of his throwing mechanics all of his life, and the legs and the feet and the ankles are a part of that throwing motion. And it's got to be human nature. If he's favoring that ankle at all, that would alter his throwing mechanics. And now we've got, a shoulder, maybe a rotator cuff. We've got arm soreness for Dak Prescott. It is something to keep an eye on and be concerned about. And given that there are now more concerns about Dak than we had a week ago about his health, how concerned are you about the prospects of backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys?
It's a huge question going into the season, and we're all likely concerned. I will tell you, maybe I'm just, choosing to be an optimist here. But in watching Garrett Gilbert play, not only last year, but when he was playing in at the Alliance or the XFL or whatever it was, I've really seen some growth in that guy. I mean, we're talking about a guy's mechanic. He's very mechanically sound. I think he's cool. I think he's composed. Do I think he can win a Super Bowl with Garrett Gilbert? I do not. But on the other hand, if you're looking for a guy, and most NFL teams look at the backup quarterback position this way, a guy who, if necessary, could come in for a 4-game stretch and win 2 or 3 of them, I think he may be the guy.
Coach, it became official this week that Aaron Rodgers will remain a Packer at least for this season as they reworked that contract. He also brought along Randall Cobb to rejoin the gold and green. Your thoughts on how this all played out and how you think it might play out come the end of this season?
Well, first of all, let me just own this. I really did not think for a long time that Rodgers was going to report. That said, look at this. He wielded more power in this instance, in this episode, than any player in NFL history. I mean, he was completely calling that tune. Got his deal reworked last night, as a matter of fact, to the point where he is now out of here for sure at the end of this year. He's not going to, they're not going to be able to go after his bonus money. He's going to keep all of that. He is in a position now of almost dictating the composition of the roster for the Packers. And you talk about Randall Cobb. My guess is today may be a pretty good day to be Devontae Adams. Okay, because that guy is about to get paid. And I feel this way pretty strongly. I think this is almost like football management malpractice going on in Green Bay right now. I mean, they have completely, I think, the future, and they're hoping they have a big year this year. I can't see it, and the reason is this is going to cleave that locker room. There's no question about that. And I'm sure, this third day of training camp, I'm sure that everybody on that team is sick and tired of getting asked about this every day. And they're going to continue to get asked about it every day. I just cannot see this working out for the Packers, even in the short run. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Here it is, the last day of July, and I am now officially picking the Minnesota Vikings to win the NFC North.
Wow. As we begin the month of August on Sunday and move into football, that's an early pick from Coach A, Paul Alexander. As we go deeper into the preseason, we'll get all of his picks for 2021 in the NFL and college football. If you want more Paul Alexander, as I mentioned, I highly recommend his website, radicallyrational.com. There's all kinds of great information, not only in sports, but in the world, in culture, in life, in politics. Radicallyrational.com. There's also a great Facebook page. Go check that out and get more Paul Alexander into your life. Coach A, Paul Alexander, the next time we talk, football will be upon us. Thanks so much for taking the time, and have a great weekend.
I love it when you talk like that. You guys do the same. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
So did we. Thanks so much, Coach A, Paul Alexander. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, this day in sports history and sports birthdays, including one of the most accomplished American women's soccer players who is not with Team USA at the Olympics this time around. That's all coming your way. Your phone calls, if you want to jump in with us, 800-707-9760. 8 o'clock, Mr. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as we are 6 nights out from the Hall of Fame game between the Cowboys and the Steelers. We're with you till 9. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Foucher, soundscape stylist. I'm Chris. It's the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Beth Settle. Jorge, good morning. John Williams, Robert. Okay, what did I send out? I sent that. I need to send one more thing. Where is...
Chris Duel here. I am feeling clear, rested, and healthy since going to the sinus and snoring specialists. Dr. Daniel Slaughter and his staff, so kind, so attentive, and so helpful. I had major sinus issues. I had major allergy and snoring issues, but I am doing wonderfully now after great, easy, non-invasive procedures at the sinus and snoring specialists, like the balloon sinuplasty. I had that. It is painless, non-surgical, in-office procedure. It helps eliminate recurring sinus infections, sinus headaches, reduces congestion and snoring. My wife loves that I don't snore anymore, and I'm sleeping better. I'm sleeping deeper, so I'm focusing more during the day. I'm getting more done. You don't have to live with sinus, snoring, and allergy problems. Sinus and snoring specialists can help you like they helped me. Call them 512-601-0303. Everything is on the website, sinussnoringent.com. The Sinus and Snoring Specialists.
Okay, so that's early August. John, I still like J.J. Watt, and I like to remember him in a Houston Texans uniform. So I'm not ready to retire it just yet. But you make a good point. It is out of date. Here we go. Woo! Welcome back in. Happy Friday, July 30th, final Friday of July, final weekend without football. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, the boy wonder Jeremy Fouts, the pride of Oklahoma Christian University, and the nephew of NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, in my mind, Dan Fouts, joining us. Dan Fouts, Dan Fouts, known for the beard. He had a big old beard. Are you, do you think one day you will follow in Dan Fouts' footsteps and don a major beard?
I would like to, but I can't really grow much of a beard that's not like peach fuzz. So cartel member or a middle school teenager. So
a cartel member. That could give you an edge, though. You can walk around town, people go, ooh, that guy could be a cartel member.
Yeah, think we look tough.
Yeah. All right, well, just putting it out there. Just an idea. Because, I mean, if we do get you the Dan Fouts jersey, number 14, as I recall, for the San Diego Chargers, I mean, that could be a little, have Fouts on the back, do the little beard thing. I don't know. It's an idea. Something to think about. All right. Coming up, speaking of Dan Fouts in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, James Allen, board member and big wig with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And he's being honored appropriately this coming week in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James Allen going to join us just after 8 o'clock. We'll talk about the game, Cowboys, Steelers, all the festivities coming next week from Canton, Ohio. Before that, though, we've got your Salty Shakedown, which is moments away. Before that, sports birthdays. And we started off with this day in sports history. On this day in 1932, the 10th Summer Olympics got underway in Los Angeles, California. In fact, that Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum built for those Olympics in 1932. I would be in LA for the 84 Olympics. I saw that torch lit in 84 for the 84 Olympics. And of course, as we speak, the Olympics underway in Tokyo. Don't forget, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, Team USA versus the Czech Republic in men's basketball, a must win for Team USA. Shannon and I'm sure we'll talk about that coming up before 9 o'clock. On this day in 1959, in his Major League Baseball debut, San Francisco Giants future Baseball Hall of Famer, first baseman Willie McCovey, goes 4 for 4 in the Giants' 7-2 win over the Philadelphia Phillies at Seal Stadium. I didn't even know about Seal Stadium, but I should look it up. Not a bad debut for Willie McCovey. He turned out to be okay. And on this day in 1980, if you're old enough to remember, it was a dark day for the Houston Astros. Their star pitcher, J.R. Richard, suffered a stroke. Not something you hear happening to a lot of baseball players, but it certainly happened to J.R. Richard of the Houston Astros. It was a debilitating stroke. He was able to rehabilitate, fight back, even get back into Major League Baseball, but he would never be the same. Before his stroke, J.R. Richard was one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1957, basketball center, 3-time NBA champion with Michael Jordan and the Bulls, center Bill Cartwright. Born in Lodi, California on this day in 1957. Born on this day in 1963, Chris Mullin. He was, of course, with the Golden State Warriors, the Indiana Pacers. He won Olympic gold. He answered his country's call, played on the Dream Team, won Olympic gold in 1992. And Chris Mullin, the poster child for not everybody should shave their head. Michael Jordan looks good with a shaved head. Chris Mullin, not so much. Chris Mullin was born on this day in 1963 in Brooklyn, New York. Born on this day in 1980, the same day that J.R. Richard had his stroke. English golfer Justin Rose, born on this day in 1980. He won the U.S. Open in 2013. He was born in Johannesburg, South Africa. And finally, born on this day in 1981, she could be playing soccer right now for the USA women's soccer team in the Olympic if she didn't maybe have some anger issues. Hope Solo was born this day, soccer goalkeeper. Hope Solo, born in Richland, Washington on this day in 1981. Thems be your sports birthdays. Were you a Hope Solo fan, Shannon?
I dug her play on the field. The person off the field, I wouldn't want to be associated with her. But you know what? With U.S. women's soccer team is actually playing live right now against the Netherlands. It's tied 2-2. I think we're nearing the 80th minute, and Alyssa Naher, the current goalie for the U.S. women's national team, just had a huge save. Netherlands were awarded a penalty kick.
Yikes.
And she nailed it. She's a legend. So
thank goodness.
We've got someone great in the goal right now. No need for Hope Solo anymore.
Wow, 2-2 against the Netherlands, deep into that match. Keep an eye on that for us, Shannon. But before Shannon updates you on that Olympic soccer match, she's got something else coming at you right now. Here it is. It'll get you through the weekend, your Friday edition of Shannon's Salty Shakedown.
Like most people, Chris, I go to bed at night scrolling through my phone, and usually it's TikTok videos. It's just what it is these days. They're funny. They're great. You start scrolling. You think you're going to bed in 10 minutes, and then it's an hour later. One of the videos I came across last night was from none other than the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, Dak Prescott was celebrating his 28th birthday yesterday. Wasn't doing a whole lot because he is injured, but he was out there sporting his new Jordan wear and cheering on his team. And towards the end of practice, the O-line as well as Zeke Elliott were walking over to him with a UPS box. They open the UPS box, and it is a yellow cake, the most yellowest cake I've ever seen. Just straight yellow icing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not big into yellow. It just didn't look appetizing, but that's all right because they had no plans of eating it because they took that cake and threw it into the face of Dak Prescott.
Oh!
So, Chris and you and I have talked about how we hate being at restaurants and people coming and singing happy birthday.
So
not only to us, but to others. I mean,
Yes.
it's a secondhand embarrassment. It's a pain to see. It's painful to watch. It's painful.
Yes.
It's most painful to be a part of it. I would also hate for this to happen to me because I'm a cake lover, and why waste a good cake? And I also think of weddings, how that's a thing.
Mhm.
I don't want to be dirty. I don't want to be dirty ever. I certainly don't want to be dirty on my wedding or on my birthday. Now, Dak took this, he's a good teammate. They have a great relationship. It's not like he's mad at him. But Chris, I'd be mad. I would be the one that would be mad. I'd be smiling at the moment, but I would go home and sulk as I have to shower and wash the yellow icing out of my hair. What about you?
Yeah, a cake to the face is never fun. I once had a pie to the face.
Oh, no.
And you know how a pie comes in like the aluminum serrated. Somebody put a pie in my face, and then with their wrist, they kind of moved
it on you.
and it cut my face. So the aluminum part of the pie holder kind of dug into. So I had blood from a pie to the face.
Did
once.
you have to explain that later to people as your scars were healing?
It's like, dude, you cut yourself shaving? No, got a pie to the face. And someone rotated the pie when they put the pie in my face. So now, first of all, you don't like a yellow cake. I imagine you would like a burnt orange cake, though. If someone presented you with a burnt orange cake, you would probably appreciate it.
It would look more appetizing, probably. It was just weird because all of the icing was yellow. There was no marking. There was no happy birthday. I was like, why? And why is it in a UPS box?
Yeah, that ain't
why.
Happy birthday on the cake.
None of that made sense to me whatsoever. But nonetheless, the yellow definitely stood out amongst all of their Cowboys gear, that dark blue and silver. All right. Moving on to some Olympic news. We've got golf getting underway. Of course, Bryson DeChambeau, as well as John Ram, not apart after some COVID issues. Bryson testing positive, and John Ram he just can't, I guess, get away from people who have COVID.
Wow.
He's again not participating, but Rory McIlroy is there and playing his part. He and Sean Lowry are having fun out there on the course, and he's playing pretty well. He's not leading, but he is playing pretty well. But a lot of people have taken notice that Rory is not wearing a hat. And we all watch PGA, right? We know that one thing's for certain: dudes wear pants and they wear hats or a visor. Or if you're, a bit of a douche, maybe a fedora. But most of them wear hats. Rory being one of them. He's rocks the Nike. He's been rocking the Nike for years. He's not wearing a hat at the Olympics, and so he was finally asked about it, and he said, "Look, I've got a really small head. That Nike has been making me custom hats for my PGA wear. So when I come and play at a team event where it's all just team issued gear, they did not make him a custom hat. It's too big for him, Chris.
Wow.
He can't play in it. It's too big. It'll move around, won't sit on his head right. So he's not wearing the hat. He says he probably won't wear one for the Ryder Cup either. Nike, the Olympics are planned way in advance. Okay. And Rory's kind of your dude when it comes to, when you think of golf and Nike, you think of Tiger Woods and Rory. You knew Tiger wasn't going to be playing. I don't know about his head size, but you knew Rory would most likely be representing his country. Why didn't you hook the dude up with a hat?
Yeah.
What if he gets a sunburn? What if that affects him later? We need to be thinking about Rory. We must protect Rory. Have you seen hatless Rory? He looks fine.
Yeah.
It's just different. It
is different. But, I think about like old time golf, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, some of those old time, they didn't, a lot of times you would see Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus on the course, without a hat. I think most of the time it makes total sense. You got the sun beating down on you, sun in your eyes, sunburn. I totally get it why you need a hat for golf, but it is kind of interesting that, someone didn't think about this, have a hat ready for him. That's so weird.
Yeah. I commend him. A lot of people are, because they're like, oh, how brave of him to say he has a small head. I'm like, I don't really get that. I'm one who has a small head too. I have a hard time with certain hat styles. They just don't really fit over my head well. They like fall over my ears, so I tend to avoid them. That's why I'm big into the trucker style hats. They tend to fit me a little bit better. Keeping with the Olympics, a lot of people are loving these athletes, not just for what they're doing at their respective sports, but a lot of them have TikToks, and they've been showing what it's like in the Olympic Village. A lot of people at first had questions about the beds, but they're showing their personalities. They're getting to know these Olympians before they even take the field. Of rugby players being the women's rugby team is like taking over TikTok. I can't scroll 5 posts without seeing one of them doing something. But one thing that a lot of USA Olympians have done are kind of these unboxings and showing off all the free stuff they've gotten being part of Team USA. And Chris, it is a lot. It's a lot more than I would have expected. Okay, I expected the opening ceremony, closing ceremony, and the podium outfit from Nike and Ralph Lauren. I did not expect them to get like a year's worth of clothing from those companies on top of those outfits. We're talking numerous shirts, hats, pants, sweats, long sleeves, hoodies, sweaters. On top of that, they've got Kim's skimwear line in all of its glory, the undergarments, the loungewear as well. But they also have received Samsung phones, a brand new phone, just in case you needed one. Samsung wireless earbuds, 4 different pairs of Oakley glasses, because I guess it's hot and sunny over there in Tokyo. You never know when you might need a pair of shades. They've gotten 5 pairs of tennis shoes, 4 of which are Nikes. The rest are Ralph Lauren's, Ralph Lauren for the ceremonies. It's a lot. Chris, I mean, backpacks, totes, towels, headband, the bucket hat. The bucket hat right now is probably sold out because everyone is saying they want the tie-dye USA bucket hat.
Nice.
I'm not a bucket hat kind of gal, but it's a lot. Like, do you bring anything with you to the Olympics? Do you just bring it home? I mean, Chris, I'm not a big souvenir person, but I always leave a little bit of space in my suitcase for a t-shirt or something. I don't know what you do with all of this, but I'm going to say we're going to see some of it online because you can't possibly wear all that free stuff. I love free stuff. I always say free is for me.
Yes.
But that's a lot of free stuff.
Well,
Chris, have you ever gotten anything for free that you're like, this is the best thing ever?
Gosh, I'm trying to, not really. That's a great question.
Like through radio or anything?
You know, as you know, Shannon, you know, we get t-shirts, we get hats now and then. So, you know, they're always fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I still like, to this day, you see me wearing you talking about small head, big head, the Valero Texas Open. I got a big head. So a lot of baseball caps, to wear them for a 3-hour radio show, they're tight on me. So I got the baseball cap from the Valero Texas Open golf tournament. That was free because we did the show there. So maybe that's it. Tying into your big head, small head, wear a hat, golf issue.
We once had a lot of extra tickets to a movie screening.
Ooh.
And they handed me a ton. So I gave them to my mom and her teacher group, like her squad of 4th grade teachers. And we all showed up. I thought it was just like, hey, come check out this movie. And they gave us free shots. They gave us a ton of free food, free cookies, free popcorn, free pizza, free burger. Like, I was like, this is luxury. I mean, I can't see a movie any other way now. I expect free all the time in this reclining chair. It was fantastic. I think still the best perk I've gotten working in radio so far. There you have it. Today's very Olympic themed, very TikTok themed Salty Shakedown.
Spectacular, outstanding Salty Shakedown to wrap up the week on a Friday. An honorable mention for the Salty Shakedown, Shannon, as Taro Kotani, our official Tokyo Olympic correspondent from Tokyo, just posted in Olympic basketball, Australian NBA player, former Spur, Aaron Baines, is out of the Olympics with an injury. It was a bathroom injury.
Oh my God.
He went into the men's bathroom in the locker room. He slipped in the bathroom, injured himself. He's gone. No more Olympics for Aaron Baines because of a bathroom injury.
That's a bummer.
Wow.
That's one of those things that's very unexpected, and I feel bad for the guy. That's not a way you want to go out.
Yeah.
And while we're on Olympic updates here, it's still 2-2, USA versus Netherlands. They are headed to extra time.
Oh, come on, USA. Need this victory. Coming up, little Red Rain from Peter Gabriel. Excellent choice from Jeremy Fouts. Coming up, James Allen on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He is being honored this coming week at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Cowboys versus Steelers. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the inductions that are happening. Of course, Drew Pearson of the Dallas Cowboys, along with Jimmy Johnson and Cliff Harris. They're the Cowboys headliners. Some dude named Peyton Manning apparently going to be inducted as well. James Allen will talk all things football and Hall of Fame week and weekend with us coming up. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris, with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Steve Duraco saying nothing is more fun than a bunch of teachers drinking shots. Steve, you and I know that firsthand from Holmes High School and the FBLA convention, and one Patty Denham Brown. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. Good on coffee, I do believe. But I'm going to get some Ice Baby for my iced tea. I'll be back in a sec. I'm on an ice run. Did somebody say ice? Hey, Robert, I can't tell from what you're posting who is being buried at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery. Yeah, I know that cemetery well. My father and my brother are buried there. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Robert. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, Robert, I should be back by the 10th. I'm going to be out next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the Monday. But I should be back here on Tuesday the 10th if the airlines cooperate. So remind me and or Shannon about that. But yeah, my mom is going to be 98, and we hope she lasts longer. But, and I'm sure you know this, Robert, how the military does it. My mom is going to be buried, in the same plot as my dad. And it's fascinating when you walk through Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery and you see the headstones of the service member. You'll see all of that person's info on one side of the headstone, and then on the other side you will see the information about that person's spouse. So my dad died really young. My dad died at age 42, and my mom was 41 at the time, and now my mom is about to turn 98. So he's been gone since 1965. I did not see that photo yet, John. I'll have to go look. James Allen about to join us from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I just saw that photo, John. Very cool. A young man in Pennsylvania. Is that him? Is he ready to go? Did he request any special music?
He did not.
He did not. Okay.
I was surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, John, she's about the same age as Betty White, actually. Well, Robert, so yeah, same situation for your parents. Okay. Yeah, that is an interest. And, some of the, there's some great just little quotes on some of those headstones, especially those of the spouses at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery. But our thoughts and prayers and
Is the Chris Duel Show.
just thinking about you, Robert, and your family, man. It's not I know it's a tough time. Here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
Friday, the weekend is here, a very special weekend. Not only is there a lot of Olympic action, to me, headlined by tomorrow morning's clash between the United States and the Czech Republic in men's basketball. USA has to win that one to advance to the medal round. And before we go to our guest, James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Shannon, you've been keeping an eye on that Team USA women's soccer match against the Netherlands. It was last time we talked to you, it was 2-2. in extra time. What do we have going on there now?
Yeah, 10 minutes into extra time. First half, we've got a tie still at 2-2.
Wow. That's a big one. We'll keep an eye on that for you. And feel free, Shannon, just if there's a big development. And if it's Team USA who scores, feel free to say, goal! Thank you. I'm just. Woo, woo. And if it's the Netherlands, hit your dump button in case there's an expletive. All right. This is the final weekend without football because next Thursday night at Benson Stadium in Canton, Ohio, it will be the Dallas Cowboys against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We love talking football and we love talking Hall of Fame football and Hall of Fame festivities and enshrinements with a board member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a local Texas guy and a great friend of the show, James Allen. James, how are you doing this morning?
Well, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning. And first thing James, I haven't said this on the radio yet. And since we're a week out, less than a week out, I just want to say this to you. You, sir, were kind enough to invite Shannon and invite me to Canton, Ohio, to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to see the game, to be there for the enshrinements this coming weekend. Sadly, Shannon can't go, but I'm going to represent Shannon and, my friend Steve Duraco, who I've known since elementary school, going to go up there with me as well. And it's a bucket list thing all my life, James Allen. I have watched the festivities, the enshrinements, the games at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And thanks to you, I get to be there this coming week. So a big thank you to you for all you do, sir. Thank you so much.
Well, I know we're online, but I'll just tell you, as I told you offline, Chris, you've been doing this for a long time in different venues, and always, sports has become about being negative and tearing down athletes. Most people have never played anything high school or even college or above that do that, and there's not many positive people. So I'm representing the Hall of Fame, I know I invited you and Shannon down there, but Chris, it's my honor for what you've done for sports and to do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you up there and hanging out with you at the different venues.
Going to be a lot of fun. And for you, James, and for everybody associated with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, this one is so special because last year, because of COVID, the class of 2020, that had to be postponed. So it's kind of a big one, a double whammy. You could say the class of 2020 going in on the Saturday of next week, the class of 2021, including Drew Pearson, going in on the Sunday. And of course, kickoff Thursday night, 6 nights from now, Cowboys, Steelers. How excited are you to finally get this thing underway after 2 years?
It is. It seems like it's been a long time. Technically, we've had really 3 inductions, as you and Shannon and I have talked about. We did an induction for the people that are no longer living, the Hall of Famers, and had special stuff for their family, a very intimate thing. So now we're planning these 2, and I can tell you everybody's ready to go. Obviously, the players from 2020, can you imagine finally getting this very rare honor that only a couple hundred people have ever gotten and have to sit and wait for a long period of time. So I know a lot of those Hall of Famers are extremely anxious to get their gold jacket and all the accolades and their bronze statues. So everybody has a lot of anticipation, and I'm just glad we have this window of time away from the pandemic and for it to bring football kind of back to the fans.
James, is there a moment during these Hall of Fame weekends that you look forward to that maybe not a lot of people know about, or it's just like your favorite moment? Could it be, from the actual induction ceremonies to the speeches to rubbing shoulders with folks, maybe in the dining hall, or any special event that you yourself get to go to as being part of the board there?
That's a great question, Shannon. I would probably say the rubbing shoulders. I've become really good friends with a lot of the Hall of Famers. And I like also, they always want to include for me to talk. And I always tell them I just want to listen. I just like to listen to their stories. And I know that you and I have talked about that, and Chris. I just listen to their stories. And they'll go, hey, do you remember that play? Or this or that? Or you remember this? And that's probably my favorite part, just to listen to them interact with each other. And the speeches are great. I love those. And there's been some great speeches. But if I had to pick one, I would say just being able to hang out. There is what they call the Gold Jacket Dinner. It's, you can only bring one guest unless you're a board member or a gold jacket, and it's very strict. I think we made an exception for Jeff Bezos and his of 6 people. It's the first time we've ever done that because Jeff Bezos is dating Tony Gonzalez's ex when he got inducted. But that's you're going to sit at a table with 2 or 3 gold jackets. That's good. But I would have to say the one-on-1 or 1-on-3, 1-on-5, listen to them talk stories and everything else.
You mentioned Jeff Bezos, and this is what it makes me think about as we talk Pro Football Hall of Fame with board member James Allen. When Jeff Bezos went into space a couple of weeks ago, he made the point of, he was becoming an astronaut because he was going into space, and he said only 500 human beings have been into space. You think about that fraternity, only 500 human beings have been into space. I think the number, and you would know this better than I would, James, Pro Football Hall of Fame is less than that. It's like in the 300s. I think it's 300 something have ever been enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, you talk about an exclusive fraternity, and you talk about the gold jackets. I mean, of all the kids who pick up a football and kids who are lucky enough to play organized football, lucky enough to play it in high school or in college, and then those who make it to professional football, these guys to reach the ultimate pinnacle of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. My gosh, what a very rare fraternity this is.
Well, Jeff Bezos even said that when he was there, and it's Chris, it's like 330. But if you take out the contributors, the Sables, the coaches, not that you should, but if you talk about just players, you're talking high 200s, and in 101 years of professional football. And as the Baseball Hall of Fame has told us, and the Basketball Hall of Fame, it's even more kind of an honor because it's just such a rough sport. The average, it's the lowest professional career. I mean, it's less than 3 years. And so, it's the rarest. And even Jeff Bezos said that. Warren Buffett made a surprise visit one time to the thing and said the same thing. It is, it's these guys, I told you, it really melts them. The toughest of the toughest, all the Super Bowls, all the accolades they go there, and it still overwhelms them.
James, we've got the Cowboys and the Steelers kicking things off with the Hall of Fame game. I want to get your thoughts on whether or not you expect to see Dak Prescott even take a snap, given the recent injury that he has with his shoulder.
Absolutely not. I've been going to the Hall of Fame games. As y'all both know, it's the first preseason game, not only of each team's thing, it's the first preseason game in the NFL. And most of the times, those guys are actually in, they'll be wearing a Cowboy shirt, so they're not even dressed up. But I know a lot of times the owners and the commissioner wants them to, but they will they will not take a snap at all.
Well, and it's funny, James, that we talk about quarterbacks taking snaps in the Pro Football Hall of Fame game. I saw a video, just for some reason showed up on my feed this past week, and it was right somewhere around the year 2000. It was the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, between the San Francisco 49ers and the New England Patriots. And the Niners had some rookie quarterback they thought, would replace, become the new big guy after Steve Young and Joe Montana. They hadn't had a big guy yet. And I didn't even recognize the guy's name 21 years later. And the quarterback taking snaps for the New England Patriots was a rookie named Tom Brady. And it's so amazing. He played a lot of snaps at the Hall of Fame game right around the year 2000. It's amazing. Not only this game coming up on Thursday night for the Steelers and the Cowboys, but pretty much any NFL preseason game. You never know. You may be watching some rookies, but someday not only will those rookies maybe win a Super Bowl in a big way, but they may wind up being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame someday.
Yeah, it's very true, and you'll see. I've seen RG3. You'll see the second string and some great quarterbacks that are now in a clipboard position that will be playing. That will happen usually in the second half, and they will get snaps. However, you're right. There's a list of people that just all of a sudden played in that game, and all of a sudden they're in the Hall of Fame, and it absolutely can happen. Of course, I'm laughing when you see 21 years later, Tom Brady's career is, like I said, he won me over after the Tampa Bay thing, because I don't like to hear, I'm around the greatest of the greatest, but what a great career he's had. But you're right, Chris. And by the way, Shane, I just want to also tip my hat to you. I did invite you to the Hall of Fame. I know you do the salty thing, but you're also very positive and edifying for sports, even as Aggies. So I wanted to also appreciate that. But yeah, so you're right, Chris. You never know who you're going to see up there, but you'll see some recognizable names, guys that are used to be starters, second, third stringers out there getting some snaps and playing.
You're my favorite Aggie, James. There's no question about it. We love having
some
you.
Aggie Longhorn love here on the radio.
But let's go ahead and since we're there, because the vote is now in, the Texas and OU programs have been added to the SEC officially as of yesterday. Probably won't take place until 2025. At least that's where it stands right now. And A&M flips. The vote goes unanimous. People thought A&M would still give a no vote, but they went ahead and said, okay. Now, from your point of view, did they flip because they truly are like, all right, this is better for the conference. This can only help us and our growth. Or was it because they didn't want to be the odd man out because it was going to be a yes no matter what?
I haven't spoken up there in a couple of years, and to the different groups up there, so I'm not connected lately. I mean, I could have been. People burnt my phone about all this, but I haven't had a chance to recall because of the return their calls to the Hall of Fame. However, my guess, if you want me to just take a shot in the dark, it's kind of like we talked about, Shannon, and the SEC's, care. They wouldn't care if Alabama voted against it. And so when you're outvoted, 58-1 and you're number 59, you just might as well vote it in and look good. So I'm guessing that's what happened.
And I'm wondering, James Allen, you have such an appreciation for all levels of football. Clearly your vantage point from the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, college football, you played for A&M. Your son played for Churchill, and you were a big supporter. Now your son is a stud shot putter. But one of the big benefits of Texas going into the SEC is the state of Texas gets our game back. Texas versus Texas A&M. I remember your friend Red McCombs saying when that game went away, he said Texas versus Texas A&M does not belong to the Aggies. It does not belong to the Longhorns exclusively. It belongs to the people of the great state of Texas. Yeah, I grew up, James, watching that football game. I grew up getting into arguments with kids in elementary school. Are you an Aggie or are you a Longhorn? Who you pulling for? Your thoughts on the return of that game, and what does that game mean to A&M? What does that game mean to Texas? And what does that game mean to the state of Texas, in your opinion?
I hope it means a lot. It's really become, as you and I, Shannon, have talked about, it's all about, and I'm not going to get through Washington. Dodd did what he did. He got pushed back by Pickens and everybody else. And I was for breaking bread. Okay, they did it. They did it for a while. Let's forgive and move on. We've only been doing this to each other since the farmers were against the rich kids. I mean, that's how this started. However, I hope that it definitely is about money. UT is going there for money because not for the money for the program, but for the players. They're worried about it. And I hope in that process we do bring back that rivalry, because for the record, I was UT was my team all the way through high school, and I remember those arguments, and so I hope that gets back into the fray. I do want to, Representative Lyle Larson had brokered so many deals with State Farm and them to bring the game back as a pre-season game, if you will. Actually, UT didn't want to have it, and they admitted he lost odds until Johnny Manziel left. He's not going to do it. Ha ha ha. But I'm glad that we're getting around all that, even though it is for money. That's why UT's coming there. and OU for the players. Once we get that, I hope we get back to kids playing with passion and rivalries they will remember 30 years from now as they do, and the fans get to experience that. And that's what I hope, that passion. It's going to be there, but I hope it continues for the younger generation.
By all accounts right now, James, we're hearing that no matter what, Texas will get to play Oklahoma and A&M as part of their SEC schedules each year. So I have a personal question now for you. With your connections to A&M, I've only been to Kyle Field once, but I've never been for a Texas A&M game. I've only ever seen them play in DKR. Can you get me in?
You know, I used to. Actually, the last game, and yes, UT marched down at the last minute and beat us at Kyle Field. I was blessed to. They gave me front row tickets with your good friend Jimmy Parks. Was there. I'm glad he and Chris. And nowadays, without going into a long diatribe, unless I want to contribute just millions of dollars, that answer is no, unfortunately.
Well, all right. Well, Shannon and I will have to resort to maybe trying to get media passes. We'll just say Shannon has to cover it.
You know, single girl, maybe marry a rich guy, but right now I'm James Who. so yeah, it's a different. I won't mention a very well-known person from San Antonio. I had really great seats, and with all the SEC stuff, and they basically said, okay, we're redoing the prices, and we're moving you now from the first deck to the second or third, unless you want to write a big check.
Wow.
And that was, that was our guy, Bowen, responding to what the lost God did, which is, again, like I said, just because somebody does something bad, we should have followed, and we did. So, so that's, if that puts this perspective, Shannon, I have no chance in heck. Powerball. If I win the Powerball, you have my word, Shannon, I will hook you up.
James Allen of the Pro Football.
I'm gonna be asking for more than that if you win the Powerball.
Yeah, I work in radio, so lottery is my retirement plan. So yeah, I maybe I'll win it, and I'll take both of you. It could happen. Finally, James Allen, I just want to get your thoughts. In addition to all of the festivities surrounding the enshrinements of great pro football players, Peyton Manning, Drew Pearson, Jimmy Johnson, and others, coaches and players and contributors, the game itself, as we've discussed, a huge honor for you and your family. The hospitality space at the Pro Football Hall of Fame has been renamed in your and your family's honor. It's now named the James Allen Family Gold Jacket Lounge. I hope to make my way there and get a photo op there with you if possible this coming weekend. But James, I know you're taking your parents and you're taking your kids. So actually, 3 generations, your parents, yourself, and your children are going to be there seeing this this space that has now been named in your honor at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just your thoughts, what that's going to mean for you to be there with your parents and your kids, looking at the sign there, knowing that this was named for your family.
Well, Shannon, don't take my man card away from me, but when they told me, in fact, I've been on some ESPN stuff and everything else, I still get kind of cheered up. It's our meeting room. Like we have board meetings and everything else, and all the meetings, they say, okay, we're going to be in the James Allen family thing, a Hall of Fame weekend. We're going to be in this. And Jerome Bettis is having his functions, and, James Allen thing. And as you know, it's right next to where all the bus are. So it's right there. It's at Main and Main. I've heard a lot of people describe surreal and all these trite phrases. I really am in shock. When I look around and see all these Hall of Famers, and you see Mr. Benson, Ralph Wilson, and Dennis Nash, and now me have something named out. My joke is, I'm the only person I've never heard of. It really is. It really is seriously humbling, and I'm holding back now because I know my parents are listening, and I don't know. I'm still getting misty-eyed about it. So.
Totally understandable, and you're very humble, and things like that don't happen unless they are well deserved. So I think everybody, even though you're humble, James, I think everybody gets it that it is well deserved, and I love that it honors you and it honors your family, and your whole family's going to be there to experience it in just a few days. James Allen, it all happens next week, and we look forward to it. And you and I will be reporting back to Shannon, and we'll experience everything there is to experience. Football is back, and no better place to bring football back after a long, cold, lonely pandemic than the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James Allen, have yourself a great weekend. Rest up, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, Shannon. Well, sorry I'll miss you. When Powerball gets high, text me. I'll go play it. My word is my bond on that, and y'all have a great weekend. All
right, James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Shannon, do you want to update us on women's soccer? Do you have anything going on there?
Alex Morgan found one in the back of the net, but she was called offsides. We've got about a minute and a half left in extra time.
Oh, my God.
It looks like we might be heading to PKs.
Ooh, high stress time coming.
I'm sweating.
All right. We'll keep an eye. American women and the Netherlands tied 2-2. Penalty kicks could be a coming. Shannon keeping an eye on that for you. And we'll get you caught up on everything else in the world of sports, including Team USA versus the Czech Republic tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. A must win to get to the medal round for the USA men's basketball team. We'll talk about all of that. Talk a little NBA draft as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Fouts making the show go till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. I don't know where the sound went. We lost sound. Thank you, Louisa. Tony Ornelas, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while, man. It has been a minute. Thanks for coming. Thanks to everybody else on Facebook Live. And some people even watching, as Mike Taylor likes to say, from the future. So if you're watching a replay and watching from the future, welcome. Here we go. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Rockin' tunes provided by soundscape stylist Jeremy Fouts. As we speak, we've been keeping an eye. Certainly Shannon has been keeping an eye on the Tokyo Olympics, specifically women's soccer team USA in a battle going deep, late into extra time with the Netherlands. Last time we checked, it was at 2-2. Shannon, where do we stand now?
We have taken the field for PKs. The goalies are heading back to the box. So it'll be over here in a few minutes. But it's stressful. It's stressful.
This is about as stressful as it gets. Now, I see... you know that in soccer, and luckily in championship competition, we don't have to worry about a tie, but they do go to penalty kicks. Now, we know that I don't like, and I don't think you like either, Shannon, just a tie, 2-2 or 0-0 or whatever. But do you prefer penalty kicks, or do you and I know that's the way it is, so whether you prefer it or not, but would you rather, like in football or basketball, you go to overtime and you keep going to overtime till somebody scores in a conventional way of scoring? It is soccer. This is the way they do it. Do you like this, or do you wish they just play another period until somebody scores a goal?
I like this. I think we've all sat through at least one baseball game where it just went on way too long. And I think soccer can be like that too, where you just have a drought and no one's scoring, or you get into a mode where everybody's scoring and you just can't get yourself out of that tie. So I'm okay with PKs. They just make me nervous. Looks like the Netherlands are going to take the first strike here. So Team USA will go second in the lineup. God, I'm so nervous.
And it so seems on penalty kicks, it all comes down to, does the goalkeeper choose to go right or left? Yeah. Can you be psychic? Because the timing is such that, the goalkeeper has to just make a split second. They see the person approaching the ball to kick it, the player, and then the goalkeeper just has to go for it, left or right. And sometimes they predict very, very correctly and save the day. And sometimes it goes and it looks ugly when the ball goes the other way.
And Alyssa Naher just predicted correctly. She went right, so did the ball. So that's one block for Team USA. You mentioned PKs, and last night there was a penalty kick early in the first half for Qatar. And the guy he did the stutter step thing, right? Where he's running and he's trying to make it hard to predict the speed of the ball, where he'll choose to hit it. And I think he threw himself off because it looked more like he was going for a field goal. It soared over the back of the net. USA just scores. Rose Lavelle of the Portland Roses gets one for Team USA.
So we're up one.
Got one on the board, up one.
Beautiful. That's a good early indicator. Hopefully that will continue. The Netherlands, now I don't know my international soccer or international women's soccer in Olympic play. What was the Netherlands supposed to put up such a fight against Team USA? I know we're the favorites in women's soccer.
They're certainly, as a country, they're very good at the sport. The men, known as the Flying Dutchmen, have fared pretty well in major tournaments, and the women have stepped up their game. They get in their second one just now, so we are tied back at 1-1 with our second shot up next for Team USA. But yeah, they're no slouch. Just like getting knocked out by Sweden last go around in the Rio Olympics, that was a heartbreaker for the US, and then they opened these Olympics to lose to them again. So it's like FIBA basketball. Everyone is getting better around the world. It only makes the sport better. But for teams like the U.S., who are just so used to stepping up and coming in and expecting to win, it's not the way we roll anymore.
Now, as you're keeping an eye on that, on the penalty kicks between the Netherlands and the United States in women's Olympic soccer, I see you pump your fist. That's a good sign.
Alex Morgan coming in the clutch.
Beautiful.
2-1 U.S.
Let's keep a good thing going. Let's get out of here with a win for Team USA. Meanwhile, NBA draft last night, a lot of Spurs fans not happy that the Spurs took an 18-year-old out of Alabama, Joshua Primo. A lot of people call him Josh. He'll probably become known as Josh Primo. Youngest player in the draft, youngest player the Spurs have ever drafted. I see on our live video feed Tony Ornelas saying, I hope Brian Wright is not sabotaging the Spurs. Brian Wright, the general manager of the Spurs, although R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich, of course, more known as part of that Spurs brain trust. As always, Shannon, the Spurs, in this case, Brian Wright, R.C. Buford, Greg Popovich, they know what they're doing. They see something in Josh Primo out of Alabama. I saw some analyst write overnight that the Spurs are swinging for the fences here, trying to hit a home run, that if Josh Primo lives up to his potential, he could be a big, big deal. I've talked a lot about Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Milwaukee Bucks, obviously much different body type, but the Bucks, he was an 18-year-old, and the Bucks hoped that his potential would be realized someday. It was, and the Bucks are now NBA champions.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned it going off the air yesterday about this question of DeMar DeRozan is still up in the air, and you're going to need a guy to step in and fill those shoes should he leave, and whether or not it's this year or a couple years down the line. I mean, that's clearly what they're going for here with these younger picks, and like we talk about with the NFL, it's not about where they are right now. It's about that ceiling of where they can be and what that could do for your team. Now, I have a question for you because Pop, obviously in Tokyo right now, huge time difference. Do you think he was up late last night or in the middle of the night in Tokyo to watch, or middle of the morning? I don't even know what time of day it was over there, but do you think he was up like on the phone, zooming in, having these conversations, or was this is the Spurs organization, is that more of a front office decision when it comes to the draft?
It's a great question, and I'd love to know the answer, and maybe we'll find out someday soon. But two things. Number one, of course, Pop, given his military background, I kind of see him as the commander of the Spurs. So you think about what would a military commander do in a situation like this? He'd probably stay up and he'd probably be locked in on it. Yet, by the same token, Shannon, a military commander also delegates authority to other officers to go out and carry out the mission. All right, you seem very excited. We win?
Rapinoe seals the deal.
Yes!
On the fourth penalty kick.
Yes!
Netherlands missed their first and fourth, so Megan Rapinoe steps up, hits one home. The U.S. advances to the semifinals of the 2020 Olympics.
USA! And I love that it was Megan Rapinoe. I dig Megan Rapinoe. I think she is so cool. She is such a great face of that soccer squad for Team USA.
She, Kristen Press, Rose Lavelle, and Alex Morgan, solid from the PK strike line. We did it. We did
Beautiful.
it. We're moving on.
Woo! All right. USA women did it in soccer. Team USA men's basketball. Dudes, you got to do the same thing tomorrow against the Czech Republic.
And let's see. Czech lost to France, but they beat Iran.
Yes.
So we got to give them that respect.
True. Absolutely.
And I think no matter what, go full out on this one. And, hopefully the shooting only gets better. Hopefully the camaraderie and the chemistry only gets better. Because if you make it out of this, you are where the U.S. women's national team is now. It is win or go home.
Yes.
So this is kind of your last chance to really get it right. Because I'm sure I feel confident that they're going to win, but I want it to look pretty. I want it to look like that Iran game, and
yes,
no question that the game was ever going to get out of hand, or that there could be a comeback similar to what France ended up doing to the U.S. team.
And with the win, if they can get it tomorrow, and it's scheduled for 7 a.m. tomorrow in the Central Time Zone, our time in the States. But and you're right. Then they would go to the quarterfinals. There would be 8 teams competing in the quarterfinals. And I do like, as you say, Shannon, you're confident Team USA will win in men's basketball tomorrow against the Czech Republic. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, who is our Olympic basketball analyst. I mean, he's still very confident, and he expressed that to us on Wednesday that he thinks USA will still win the gold. So we're hoping that that early loss to France in the very first game last Sunday really maybe hopefully was a wake-up call. Pop talks about having appropriate fear of your opponents, and no better way to have appropriate fear than getting punched in the mouth like Team USA did in that opening game against France.
Yeah, I think even if they do go on to win gold and meet expectations, that'll always kind of be a knock on their run. But get the job done.
Win the gold, and all is forgiven. Yeah,
and we'll start pushing that aside as we look on to the next Olympics, which are just 3 years away now, thanks to COVID.
Absolutely. And finally, Shannon, before we get out of here this morning on a Friday, Russell Westbrook overnight traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. We pose the questions to our listeners and our viewers. How will the Russell Westbrook, LeBron James era play out for the Los Angeles Lakers?
A lot of votes now coming in for close but no cigar. 38%, 26% saying one or more championships, and 34% saying a disaster. Chris, when we say close but no cigar, do you see that as regular playoff contenders but don't quite make it, or they make it to the finals but they just fail to convert and win that trophy at the end?
I think either or. I think close but no cigar means you're close. So either Western Conference Finals and you don't get to the finals, or you do get to the finals. But think about this, though, Shannon. So many people don't like LeBron. Russell Westbrook is not beloved either.
Right.
I mean, you kind of add to the we don't like the Lakers factor, I think, by adding Russell Westbrook.
I think for a guy like Russell, like that fuels him. And as much as LeBron tries to play hard and he doesn't care, I think he does, because so much of him is a public figure more than a basketball player at this point. And I think he knows that once basketball is said and done, he's going to need those likes to continue to get eyeballs on all of his TV shows and all of his projects, and for people to buy his tequila and everything that he is invested in. I think he takes that a little bit more personally, whereas Russell just goes out there and plays ball.
Yeah, Anthony Huerta on our live video feed just wrote, if Anthony Davis is healthy, the Lakers are in the conference finals at the very least. And think about this, Shannon, we brought it up. DeMar DeRozan, it could still happen. He could play, for the minimum, or at least the salary slot they have open in LA, which I think is $9 million a year. You could have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and DeMar DeRozan. 4 of your starting 5 right there. My God, that would be a super team by definition.
Is that where we're heading?
I don't know.
2's not enough. 3's not enough. Now you need 4.
It's like the arms race. We're going to load up. That could be happening. Our thanks to Paul Alexander, Coach A, and James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Shannon Salty Sweeney, spectacular all week long as always. What's your big weekend plan?
We've got a big Austin FC match. Woo! And some Olympic watching. I'm house sitting for a family friend of mine, and they just got a 96-inch TV. So I'm gonna take that for a little spin this weekend.
You are set. Well, have a great weekend. Jeremy Fouts, the entire week with us this week. You did a magnificent job. Thanks so much. Have yourself a great weekend. We shall do it again soon. Yes, sir. If we haven't forced you to resign your position from iHeartRadio after a tough week. All right, everybody, go Team USA in all Olympics. And tomorrow, 7 a.m., men's basketball, USA versus the Czech Republic. Our thanks to Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Fouts, and our guests, James Allen and Paul Alexander. Be good to one another. Have yourself a great weekend. The weather looks really good all weekend long.